Hey everybody, welcome back to our Why We're Over It series, where we're talking to cash-based physical therapists across the country about how the cash-based model gives them freedom as a provider and gives you freedom as the client. So we're super excited to be back. I'm Dr. Kelly Weisner with Flourish Columbus, based out of Indiana.
And I am Dr. Jennifer Morgan. I am based out of Connecticut, and my clinic is Centrality Wellness. And we are here today with an amazing cash-based PT out of Dubuque, Iowa, Dr. Logan Lynch. And we're going to toss it over to her, and we're going to let her introduce herself and her clinic. Go for it, Logan.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for asking me to be a part of this. Like she said, my name is Dr. Logan Lynch. I am a physical therapist in Dubuque, Iowa, and I am a new grad PT, so I started my cash-based clinic right out of graduation, and so the process of that started a while back, a while before graduation. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, but just a little bit more about my clinic first. I'm located inside of a gym here in my local community. So I just lease space out of there. I don't have a private room. I just kind of set up my mat table, and I work with active adults and athletes to get back to their workouts, get back to their sports and fun activities, staying active without the unnecessary use of injections or surgeries. So that is kind of my patient population. A lot of functional athletes. There's a lot of classes there, such as CrossFit and things like that. So love working with active people who want to get better. So taking it back to kind of when I decided to start doing this was about last March or so, and we had in school a class that was about kind of business and marketing. It covered a lot of different topics. It wasn't straight marketing, like how do you market yourself as a physical therapist, and I shouldn't even say marketing. It was like a business class. I kind of put marketing in there, but talked about a lot of different things, like owning a clinic, like a traditional clinic, talked about resume, job interviews, like all of the things. So it was like one lesson each. And there was one about cash PT. And we had a former student kind of do an interview and a question and answer. And I was the one asking all the questions because I was so intrigued. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing, but this sounds really cool. And just talking about the reason that she did it, having more, and I'll get into my reasons, I'll kind of get into that, but talking about the reasons why she wanted to do it. And I was just very intrigued, and she had mentioned some different resources that she used. And so I started diving into those. And because of my past experience for the past couple of years, I've been doing like a lot of online kind of fitness coaching type stuff and working with a lot of people who were living a different lifestyle, working a different way, more online, having more time, more freedom. So like my mindset was kind of in that realm anyway, that I wanted my life to look like that. I just didn't know how that fell in and aligned with PT, which was a big battle for me for a long time, because I was like, how do I make this happen? Because this doesn't seem like the way I'm going. It doesn't seem like I can have that, So then this opportunity came up, and so I just binged a lot of podcasts. I binged every resource that I heard about. And I mean, it was probably like 1 or 2 months later after I first heard about it, where I remember saying to my boyfriend, I was like, I think I really want to do this. Like, because I had listened to someone who was a new grad and who did it. And I was like, I think I really want to do this. And then he's like, go for it. So I was like, okay.
Awesome.
So that was kind of where my mindset was going into my long-term clinicals. And the long-term clinicals was really where it just kept solidifying why I wanted to do it and what I wanted to do. Had a great experience. I was very fortunate with the mentors that I had in my clinicals. But no matter how excited they were about physical therapy and how much they love their job and the community there were still the underlying issues and conflicts and things that happened that I didn't really want for my career, such as insurance. That was literally conversation 80% of the time was like talking about whether it was making a decision on what this patient could do, or talking about how this patient couldn't come back because they didn't get approved visits. Like, it's just always a part of the conversation. It's always became a conflict. And in the beginning of my clinicals, like I was very shy about what I wanted to do, like going into a clinical and having this CI and who's experienced and excited about their job and everything, like telling them that like, yeah, I don't want to do this the traditional way and I'm a new grad. Like I was like very scared to say that. And so the beginning of my clinicals, like it never really came up that often because I still had a while to go. But as I went on, people would ask me like, what are you going to do after? And at first I would say, I don't know. But then I was like, and I'm a huge like mindset, personal development. Like I binge that stuff all day long. So like I like checked in with myself and I was just like, dude, like if you're going to do this and take this seriously, like you need to say it out loud and you need to have the confidence to tell people that that's what you want to do. So it was just like a reality check. I was like, I just need to own it and not care. Like these are the least of my battles that I'm going to have being a new grad coming out, you know, like there's going to be a lot of pushback and like, this is just the beginning. I need to be able to handle that. So finally I started saying that, you know, to anybody who asked, and the reaction was always the same. Oh, really? Like some people that didn't really know about it. Some people were like, how does that work? Like, how do you get patients? And like in my head, I had learned for months on how you get patients. I was like, well, there's a way to do it, but like nobody knew about, like they just really didn't know. And then a new grad doing it, and there were a lot of like reactions, yeah, like, oh really, you know, just like, and they never said, I didn't have any encounters outright that was like, I don't think that's a good idea, but you know, who knows what they were thinking. But I was like, I don't care, like I'm doing this. So graduated in, just kind of went through my clinicals, was building up confidence, continuing to learn. So kind of towards the end of my last clinical, I reached out to a local gym here that I knew was in a popular area, and I knew some people that went to it. So I went and visited and met someone at the front desk, and then was asking about the owner of the gym, and then ended up, she was like, do you want to meet her? So then she introduced me to her. And I kind of approached her about the idea of like, I approached it as, have you ever considered having a physical therapist kind of as a part of your community, like within your facility to serve, you know, your members? And she was, I mean, I was, again, fortunate, but she was excited about the idea. And she's like, we have like trainers that are independent contractors that could kind of work like, you know, like some contract of leasing space, like they do that. So she was excited about the idea. And so kind of basically from then we kind of just fostered a relationship about, you know, working together and what it would look like me being in the clinic, and drafting a possible contract, and just while I was finishing out school. So then graduated in December, and then it was kind of while studying for my licensing exam, it was like, let's go. So, you know, signing up for anything that I could before having my license, and then finishing off the final steps, like getting, you know, malpractice insurance, and just continuing to learn as much as I could, especially because I knew the marketing piece was going to be so important, until I got my license. And thankfully passed on the first try in February or end of January. But that was very intimidating because I've always been very open about my journey just through school and like through social media. And so talking about what I was going to do, there was this underlying fear, like, well, what if I don't pass? Like, what do I do? Everybody knows this is my plan. But you know, like that's part of the fear. You just have to, you know, what happens and you move on. But I passed, so we're good. And then was set to open my clinic officially. So, and also with the gym, I started going to the classes. Like I knew it was very important to become a part of the community and not just be an outsider coming in. Thankfully, I'm from the community, but there's still a lot of people there I don't know. So I've been going to classes and just fostering relationships there. And so I was set to open on, it was March 16th. I believe that was the Monday. And then the gyms closed on March 17th.
Oh,
yep.
So yeah, it was a very bittersweet day on Monday because I was like, I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when. So basically I've been working from home since then, and then they just recently opened back up. So now I'm trying to, not starting from scratch, but like kind of building it back up, because I went from having no patients to no, you know, like I didn't have a patient base to be like, hey, I can see you virtually. It was starting all of that from scratch. So then it's like, pivot. How do I learn telehealth and build a patient base from scratch? Yeah, so now I'm back in the gym, working very closely with the owner and also like the social media manager, kind of doing content for my own clinic, but also geared more towards their members that they're sharing on their page to kind of like help market me, but also give them resources specifically for their members. But I am still like a separate business entity. I just lease space there.
Nice.
Break.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with your drive. I'm obsessed with the story. I'm kind of fangirling, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, let's backtrack. You mentioned a couple times all of the resources, all of the podcasts, all of the information. Mm-hmm. What are your favorites? Because there are a lot of people going to be watching this being like, holy crap, I want that knowledge. And they're going to want to go out and they're going to want to devour it. So list some of your faves.
Okay, so I started with Erin LeBauer, the OG. It was the first one I listened to because that was the one that was named by the PT who we did the question and answer. That was the first name I like looked up. I was like, who is this guy? And then so I binge watched his podcast, the Cash PT Lunch Hour. He just has tons of interviews with people from all realms, working in gym, working online, like so many resources. And now since then, obviously it's grown. He has even more, like endless amounts of episodes of resources. And so I started with him and I bought his book, The Cash PT Blueprint, which kind of gives a good overview of like the pieces that you need to get set up, finding a space, finding, thinking about your overhead costs and how to minimize those, equipment, and being in a gym base. I knew I wanted to do that because I didn't have the overhead to like try and rent a space. And thankfully I didn't, because with COVID and all that, like that would have been an absolute mess if I would have had to, take out more of a business loan. But went with the gym route just because that was the population I wanted to work with anyway, was very active people. And so being in the realm that they already work out, I thought that was a perfect, and I had heard of that model. So then after I kind of found out or wanted to do that, then I bought Danny Maida or Matt. I don't know how to say it. I put on my story once. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his name. Wait, I have it right. Let me grab it real quick.
Isn't it Matea?
I think it's Matea. I do think it's Matea. And I think it's Fuck Insurance that she's pulling out that, which.
Yeah.
Is it Matea?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, Fuck Insurance. That's a great book.
Yep.
So I love this one because this is where I got my main marketing strategy, because he does a lot of workshops. And so I was like, that's perfect. Like I love working with people, and like I have a lot of energy, as you can tell. So like I love working with people and just like them feeling my energy and wanting to work with me in that room. So I thought being in person, helping them, giving that free value would be a great way to do that. And I love just like speaking to people. So that was really helpful to kind of gear it specifically towards my model. So the Cash PT Blueprint was kind of like overall Cash PT, what is this? How do you talk to patients about insurance, things like that. And then this was kind of more specific to, okay, in a gym, how do you get athletes to trust you? And because a lot of athletes, like especially like going to fitness class and stuff, they're like, well, it's not necessarily about pain. Like maybe they don't have pain, or maybe it's like an ache or something. It's not like they fell and broke their hip, so it's a different kind of strategy to try and help them understand how I can help them. Because, I like focusing on mobility and I'm all about preventative. So it's like, okay, how do I market this to make them care about preventative care, make anybody care about that? So those are two major books. And then I did sign up for Erin LeBauer's actual Cash PT Blueprint like course. And so that is just a lot more in depth into everything in the book. So covers a lot more about like Medicare and insurance, about specific scripts, about how to talk to patients about insurance when they ask, how to navigate those conversations so you're in control of the conversation and you don't, you just feel confident with selling. And then Jared Carter, I'm trying to think of the specific thing I've seen from it, but he was another resource that I think I've just read a lot of his blog posts, and he did an interview with Erin LeBauer in the Cash PT Blueprint specifically about the Medicare and just like really broke it down into detail. It's still very confusing, but that was another one that I looked to a lot into his journey and like just resources that he put out. So I think those are the main ones.
So you had kind of touched on getting clients to buy in and see the value in your services. Mm-hmm. Do you approach your potential clientele from a physical therapy side of it or more of a wellness side? Do you have a distinction between the two? Kind of how do you foresee going about that?
Yeah, so I try and keep it more of like a wellness, athlete wellness messaging, because I have just like through these resources, learning about like people, the way you market physical therapy. Like a lot of people don't understand physical therapy. They think of it as you have surgery and then you have physical therapy, or you get a spinal cord injury and then you have physical therapy. Like they know it as maybe that. But like like this girl working in a gym having a mat table, like what is physical therapy? And so I just try and approach it in their language, and a lot of the value that I share, the videos that I share, the things I talk about, it's breaking down movements that they're already doing. It's talking about functional issues that they might be having, and why that matters to try and fix. So I try and stay away from going at it at like from a true fully pain standpoint, like, oh, you have pain, come see me, because it's not just about that. People can live through pain, and they're going to push through pain, especially if they're competing, things like that. So I try and do it from an educational standpoint about overall wellness and mobility, and why you're going to be able to do what you love longer. And like, okay, you're doing this snatch or this clean, like let's break down what mobility is required. Here's a quick test to test that. And then if you need help with that, hey, message me. It's like, I don't even say really in a lot of my posts, it's like, if you need help with this, call physical therapy. Like I'll just say like, hey, let me know, like send me a message and I'll give you some drills or something. Like just, I try and stay like kind of on the same level as them, and not, especially from like athletes who are doing CrossFit and functional athletes and stuff. It's like, they don't want someone coming in and like talking down to them to tell them everything they're doing wrong. Here's like what you should do to fix it. It's more of like getting in there. I'm showing what I'm working on. I'm showing this move, and like I lack this mobility. This is helpful because I want to prevent this. And then it's like, oh, hey, like I have that issue too. Or so, yeah, I try and go from a more broad like wellness standpoint, as opposed to like using physical therapy terms and like, making it seem like you have a problem, I need to fix you. Just so they feel more welcome, and they're more like they want help, as opposed to they feel like they need it.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh my God, it's direct marketing, right? But it's also like very human to human based information, which is huge. Like people are smart, and we are transitioning away from sick care, which is what you touched on, which is where it's like, I have a spinal cord injury, now I need rehab, right? Yeah. And into a more, I want to stay healthy. I don't want to, I'm a pelvic floor PT. So for me, I get a lot of like, I don't want to be incontinent like my mom, or like this, blah, 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 right? So that is them taking charge of their life, which is huge. And that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the empowering them, and it's turning the model from telling them everything that's wrong with them, here's why you should fix it, and it's them making the decision, saying like, hey, like I want to be able to pick up my kids, I want to be able to do this competition, I want to be able to do my workouts without peeing my pants, like, and they're like, that's what I want. And so then you seek out that care. I love pelvic floor PT, and like eventually I want to take a course and get into it, but like, it just hasn't been possible right now, but I'm so fascinated by it.
It's awesome. Both Jen and I are pelvic floor PTs, so
okay. Sweet.
We're a little biased.
Yeah.
100%. What I would say is, after you take the first course, there are so many awesome resources, very similar to like how you kind of like absorbed all of the really cool like Erin and Danny and Jared information. Nicole Cozine, I'm sure you know who that is. If you don't follow her, follow her. She's awesome. And she's got some like really cool, like, how do you bridge the gap after taking PF1? Like, what's next?
Oh, great.
So she's very much like let's not take all the courses, like let's learn how to integrate what you've learned. I'm all about it. I think it's like PT Essentials or something. It's amazing. All right, so let's talk about sessions. So you mentioned you had to pivot, and one of our other people, she coined the term pivot, not panic with COVID, which I thought was amazing. Did you transition to actually seeing people telehealth, or was it like, now that we're open, I'm going to wait and I'm going to get them in person?
I never officially saw like a patient who paid me like for a session. I did some like sample, like practice visits. I had a couple of friends that were doing some stuff. So just like getting used to the platform and like helping them out. And then just a client of mine, not physical therapy related. She was having some issues. So then we got on a video and I helped her out there. And so I did a little bit of marketing with it. I wouldn't say I was great at it and like fully committed to it. So that's probably why I didn't have a lot with it. But I almost like, part of me was like, didn't go full blown into it, because part of me was like, maybe I should be spending a lot of this time like just really making sure I'm set up for success when I can get back, in the gym, like, so I spent a lot of time doing like email automations and learning just different digital marketing skills to be able to incorporate into my clinic. And so it wasn't a time wasted for sure. It wasn't bringing in the income that, I potentially could have had if I went full blown, but yeah, I was just crafting my own marketing and like my own mindset so that when I could see them in person, which is like what really excites me, then I was just that much better at it. So yeah, I didn't fully like kind of dive in and see any patients officially, but did some sample ones and kind of just got a little bit more comfortable with it as far as like talking through it. But it was different, especially like me coming out of school and not even having a lot of experience seeing patients, outside of my clinicals. And then, trying to master all of this like through video, like it was a challenge just even for those sample ones, but it was a good challenge.
That's awesome. That's a great use of time, even though it wasn't necessarily income producing, but I mean, still stuff you want to do and need to do for your business anyway. So kudos.
Yeah. And it just opens it up for the future. If somebody's traveling and they need to check in with me or something, I can still have that option, I guess.
Yeah.
It's all about efficiency, right? Yeah. You want to help individuals, but you also want to prevent burnout, right? Which the freedom that cash-based physical therapy brings is already on the right track of that, because you get to help people and not have to see 5 people at the same time. But email automations and all of those things, that's stuff that like I did not do in Phoenix when I was doing cash. And now it's like, that's important to me. So I feel you. That's a really good use of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you, in kind of marketing your business, even before you graduated, before you passed your licensure exam, like, did you have people ask you about super bills or reimbursement, submitting to insurance? Did you have to have those conversations with potential clients?
Yeah, so I honestly, like at this point, because I didn't open right away, I've had more conversations about that, explaining it to like my family and my friends. Because they're like, how does that work? Like, what about insurance? Like, that's always a question. I was like, did you listen to 1 million episodes of podcasts? No. So like, I know what I'm doing. Okay. So I actually had a patient that called me just last week and left a message. And like, one of the questions in there was like, also wondering about insurance and, or what you accept, So the conversations that I've, had explaining that was, we'll go like kind of before I saw her, but like explaining that was, I just always go at it from a standpoint of like what the purpose behind it is first, as opposed to going into like what the actual process of a super bill and paying me is. And so I always like talk about first, like, well, however, like I work directly with the patient, so it kind of takes one party out of it. And so like we have full communication as far as plan of care, like what's best for you, and there's no hidden surprises or anything like that. And so it just makes it more one-on-one relationship with us, so that we always kind of know what works well for you and what works well for, you're getting you back to where you want to be. So and then I'll get, so how it works is, basically you pay me up front, and then I can give you a receipt or super bill. I feel like a receipt makes more sense to people, like what's a super bill, but just to clients. But, and then you can check with your insurance if you have out-of-network benefits. So basically I'm an out-of-network provider. So if you have benefits, you can use this and you can attempt to submit to your insurance. I can't guarantee it, but if you have out-of-network benefits, it might be worth a try. And so that's what I said to my last patient, and she had no problem, and when I called her back, I didn't immediately jump into the conversation and say, so I know you're asking about insurance, and like I'm cash PT, I only take cash, like jumping into it with that. I had a full conversation, and this is just any sales, you know, like in marketing, like I had a full conversation with her first, talked about what her problems were, asked her questions, showed her that I was invested in helping her, explained to her that I could help her, what she could expect, what it would look like, all of the things before. And then I was like, oh, and I know you were asking about insurance. So I, the way my clinic works is I work directly, or I contract directly with my patients. So you'll come in, you pay for your visit, and you can check with your insurance company if you have out-of-network benefits. And then if so, I can give you a receipt and you can try and get reimbursed. And she was like, okay, and didn't have any problem with it. I'm not saying every patient is going to be like that, but like, I don't have like a long list of patients that I experience with, but just anytime I explain it, it's like people care more about the reason why and like the transformation, you know, with anything, they care more about the transformation and why it matters and what's going to happen, like why they benefit from it, rather than like the details of the process. So like, as long as they, you know, you help them buy in from the beginning of like, why is seeing you specifically the best option for them, that it already kind of opens their mind at the end of the conversation to be like, she's really excited to work with me. She can really help me. Like, I want to get this problem taken care of. Sure, I'll pay cash. And then, you know, I'll attempt to you know, use the bill. So I did send her a receipt, and that's kind of how I'll go about it, is I won't automatically send them one. I'll kind of ask them like, you know, do you have out-of-network benefits, or do you want to check with your insurance? And then if they ask for one, then I'll send it. But I'll explain to them what it looks like. And I have learned about an app, Reimbursify, that apparently makes that easier. I don't know if you guys have ever used that, but it's apparently makes it easier for the patient to submit the claim. So that's something I'm looking into, like if somebody wants to submit, if that helps make it easier for them, then I'll kind of help them use that.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't used it. The system we use automatically generates the invoice with ICD-9 or ICD-10 codes and the CPT codes. So the short experience I've had with clients is they are happy to see it there. And, you know, we've had conversations up front to say, okay, look, you're going to, you know, it's a fee for service, and there's the option to call your insurance company and ask about benefits. And so far, I mean, people have been very receptive from my clinic for that. But we're brand new too, so we'll see as time goes on, have those conversations.
Yeah, and I think like, because when I first learned about cash PT, you know, a lot of people would say, often, you know, I would see like oftentimes they're paying more for their copay or deductible, or, you know, like they have high deductibles, they're paying more for their copay than come to see you anyway. So, right. But some people aren't, you know, like for me personally, like I'm still on my parents' insurance till October, but for me, it's like $20 of copay, you know, like that's not the same as a physical therapy visit. But I've just seen so many people like fed up with the hidden fees and like the hidden bills that come months later. So that's, I think, what, like, you know, if I get, which I will, you know, when I get an objection about, you know, being nervous about that or wanting to use insurance, I feel like that's something that I would, you know, the benefit is like, you know, exactly what you're paying right now. There's not going to be any hidden bills that come down the road. And if they still want to go elsewhere, then it's like, okay, then they try a traditional route. And that's the thing, is I think that's important too, is to like refer them to someone in network, or be like, you know, like, great, like if that's going to work best for you, like I hope that it does. And if you ever have any questions, like feel free to like leave the door open. So like if that doesn't work, or they're upset with that, you didn't leave on a bad note where it's like, oh, okay, like I only see people who pay cash. It's like you created that relationship, and so they're going to think of you if they need more help to come back around, or their insurance boots them off of that one, you know, so then they want to come pay cash. So, you know, tackling the objection, but leaving it as an open relationship where it's like, you can always come back if you change your mind or if you need more help.
I love that. That's such a great point. I love that.
No, that's amazing. And like, I have my own Superbill template, and if they ask for it, I give it, which most of mine do. I have never heard of this app, so I need to look into it, but that's amazing.
Yeah. So I just got like I received like 2 different template ideas. One of them's a lot simpler. So that's the one I'm using right now because simple is always the best for me. So yeah, I just sent it to her and then she was gonna try it, but she just used like her health savings card up front to pay for it, which we accept those. So yeah, it worked out well.
Very good. So let's talk about Medicare. Do you work with many clients in that Medicare age range group? And kind of what are your tips and tricks? What do you do? And give us the skinny on the Medicare situation.
Yeah, so I don't expect to work with a lot of Medicare patients just because it's not really the population that I'm marketing to. But so I've learned a lot of detail about the Medicare and the cash PT realm, and I've learned there's a lot of confusion with it. As far as what's allowed and what's not allowed, and here's the exception, and here's the fine print. Like, so my first instinct, like up front, was I just don't even want to mess with it. And because like I didn't know, because I didn't fully know, I was still learning the details and I'm still learning all the rules. Like, I don't want to step on any toes. And so for the most part, like with Medicare patients, they like if Medicare covers the service, aka physical therapy, they do, then you can't charge cash for it. But if it's a wellness service, then you can. So if a Medicare patient comes to, which actually the owner of the gym referred like her husband to me. He didn't actually end up coming in. I think he's very stubborn, but I kind of was explaining to her how it would work. I would keep it more, unless they like had a direct injury, then I would find an in-network provider probably to refer them to. But if it was like they're having back pain or they're having knee pain, I can turn that into a wellness plan, you know, where it's not specific to, I'm not going to diagnose like where it's geared towards back pain, where I'm just getting them moving more often. Like I see that more as wellness and kind of an exercise wellness plan because it's not a specific diagnosis. So if there was a possibility to do that with a patient, then I would kind of go that route and be like, hey, we're just going to, you know, create this wellness plan, get you moving, get you active, because a lot of times that's probably the problem in the first place. But if it was something where it's like, okay, this really is specific, or like, I think I know, you know, that you need more specific care, then I would, you know, refer them to an in-network provider just because technically I can't take cash for that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've learned via Jared Carter, and you know, a disclaimer, he says not legal advice, but if a patient comes in on their own will and says like, I know that you don't take cash, or I know that Medicare can't pay whatever, but I want to see you anyway and I want to pay cash for you, then they can sign something like promising that they're not going to submit to Medicare, and then you can see them.
Yeah.
But that's a fine line, because it's like, how do you get them to come in on their own free will without you convincing them, you know? So it would have to be like they heard it from somewhere else, like unless they can, and that's what he said, is like, unless they come in and say, I know this, I heard this from this, like I know that I cannot submit to Medicare, but I want to see you anyway, then technically you're allowed to see them.
Yeah.
But I don't know how often that will happen, because I feel like nobody knows that.
Yeah. Lots of gray area.
So it's kind of like a hidden thing, I think, but.
Yeah. Lots of gray area, but Jared Carter is a really good resource for the Medicare cash PT model, trying to get some of that information. He's got a lot of good resources and information.
Yeah.
So
100%. And find a good attorney. Right? That's what I like. Yeah. Like there are some awesome healthcare attorneys, and where did I see some names? I think Tracy Scher, Rob Vining. So like Telehealth PT, the Global Pelvic Health Alliance, and then there was one other person who posted their healthcare attorney, and that was great, right? Which very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for those times where it's like, it's very hazy, it's very gray area, like you want to know what you're doing. That's why and it's not even the population that I gear towards anyway. If it was mainly if I was working more with that population, then I would definitely know my stuff more, but it just hasn't been a focus of mine to really dive in. But that's my kind of vague understanding of it.
Totally. So
Yeah.
right off the bat, any regrets? Anything that you would change? Anything that you would do differently?
Other than COVID.
Other than COVID.
Gotta throw that in there.
I mean, this was kind of out of my control, but like, I think the only thing I would say is I would have learned about it sooner, but I just like, I didn't know about it. Because I was just telling Jen before we got on, like, I wish I would have been able to do a clinical in a cash PT setting. But I didn't know about, and like our school, you know, obviously didn't have any contracts with cash PTs, but like I would have gone out and found one, you know, if possible. I would have flown to North Carolina and or South Carolina, North Carolina with Aaron LeBauer. But yeah, so like, and that's really my only reason about it, because I feel like, I mean, it was a year in advance. I had enough time to learn and all of that and get things set up. So the only reason why I say that is because it would have been really cool to experience it with someone else doing it beforehand. And so, I mean, like, to anybody else, like, it's never too early to start learning about it. It's never too early to use your resources. Like, you're not too far away, because it does take time to not only learn all of like the what you need to get, you know, the check boxes of what you need to get it set up, but like it also takes a lot of like mindset work and confidence to be able to do that, especially if you're coming out as a new grad, because I don't believe that every new grad can come out and do it. To be completely honest. And so, and like, if you're already a PT and have your own clinic, like just from talking from other PTs who do switch over, like that's a big, you know, it's like a scary jump, because sometimes they're just giving up all their patients and starting from scratch. And when you have a family, when you have kids, like that's a scary thing to do. So either it takes time to, like get finances in order, or just to build up the courage to do it. So like, it's never too early to start working towards it. And you don't have to give up everything right away. You can start slow, like, and you know, other you guys have more experience, like, you know, switching from that, because I just started from the ground up. But just based on working with other people and hearing from other people, like, just, you know, don't be afraid to start early and learn from these resources. But other than that, like, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently. Like, over the past couple of months, there's been lots of days where I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, what am I gonna do? But then also at the same time, I'm like, I mean, essentially outside of like the income right now, this is what I wanted. Like, I was working from home, and like I can go to the gym and see a patient if I want to. I make my own schedule, and I was like, this is what I asked for. It didn't come in the time that I, you know, expect, but like, when does anything ever do that? And, you know, I'm not growing as fast as I wanted. There's also a huge pandemic that came into play, but like, I didn't quit. And so I'm very grateful that it's like, I can't believe I'm here, when it, like, over a year ago, I was like, I think I want to do this. And then I did it. So
that's awesome. I love it. I think it's so cool too that in PT school you had a class about business, and it involved talking to a cash-based PT. I mean, when I was in school, I mean, I've been out of school for 8 years, which, I mean, feels like forever, but it doesn't, I mean, that's not that long. I had no stinking clue. You know, our business class was make a business plan. And at that point in time, I was like, oh, heck no, I am never doing this. You know, and here I am. But I think social media and all the resources that are out there that we can access so easily has just really taught me so much, and brought up this different model of care that is so beneficial to practitioners. It's beneficial to patients, to clients, to just people everywhere. So I'm super encouraged to hear that you learned about it in school and really, you know, got some of that experience and just exposure early, even though, you know, it could always be more. But that's awesome. I was so excited to hear that.
Yeah. And I think I'm definitely like in the minority on that, as far as programs go, and like having that a part of it. So I think I just had a very good, like, in the advisor for that class was one that was very helpful for me. Like, because I don't think she's ever done cash PT, but like she must have learned about it somehow and then incorporated it into it. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think it's like, well, if I wouldn't have had that, would I even be here? Like, what have I even learned about it? I don't know. So yes, I was very fortunate to have that, because I know a lot of programs, you know, they don't have business class at all, and they don't learn about, you know, any of that stuff. But the rest of it was geared towards, you know, being an employee, because that's just a traditional route.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I know. I made a business plan in PT school, and it was all about how to be an insurance clinic, which is like, it's just comical, but that's the status quo. And you touched on that, right? That's the norm, right? And how being employee is the norm, rather than, you know, offering this service that really benefits patients. Like cash PT, like if you dive into somebody's benefits, especially benefits that are coming off the marketplace, like their deductibles are $7,000 or $8,000, and they don't really know what they're responsible for. And their copays are $40, and then they're being seen 3 times a week or whatever that is. And that's $120 right there in a week. And you can see a cash-based PT for potentially similar to that, maybe higher, but you are getting one-on-one care. It is so much more focused on you. And you mentioned that, you know, the buy-in on the therapist end is so much greater. We have the attention, we have the time to like dedicate it to that individual.
Yes.
Yeah, like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that like made me so angry during my clinicals and like with insurance was when insurance companies like determined that a patient was done, and like was like their reason was they're functional enough. And like that made me so mad. I was like, that is not okay. Like this person cannot do the activities that they used to be able to do. And these are patients outside of a brain injury or things where some things are uncontrollable. Like it's people who just cannot do their daily life. They can't do their work anymore, but they're functional enough. And so you don't get any more therapy. I'm like, how is that allowed? Like, that's ridiculous. And so that was one of like the driving forces. Like, no, like I want people to be able to get back to where they want. And so like, I can't do that. That's going to make me mad forever. And like, that was one of the reasons like why I decided to do it from the beginning was because I was like, I can't spend, yes, I have a massive amount of student debt, like all of us. And so that's one a big reason where I was like, I don't know, like, and I know I have all that. And like, so I could have got a traditional job for 5 years or 10 years, maybe, I don't know. But I was like, am I going to spend the rest of my 20s into my 30s going to a job every day that I'm truly not happy? Like, I love working with patients, but like all of this other stuff that just makes me mad every single day, like how's that going to reflect in my life when I'm just like not happy with my job where I'm at the majority of my week? So I was like, I can't spend the rest, you know, like of my 20s into my 30s hating my job, you know, and maybe not hating's a strong word, but like, you know what I mean? So I was like, I need to do this from the beginning so I can build exactly what I want from the beginning. And it's going to be hard and it's going to take a long time, but like I said, like I can't really believe that like I'm here and I'm still not where I want to be, but like when are we ever, right?
That's right.
That's so great. That's so great. Oh my God, this is amazing. There are probably so many people watching this being like, I want to do that. Even a lot of students are probably going to be like, hell yes, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It really is, because it can be terrifying. But here you are being like, I just did it and it's happening, and you're living it, which is awesome. So let's see. What if someone wants to find you on social, website, all of those things? Like, what is the best handle, best link, all of that?
Yeah. So best handle on Instagram is at Logan .dpt. That is where I share more of the cash PT. I talk a lot about marketing, physical therapy, marketing yourself, because that's like not talked about at all in school. And leadership, like just leadership and confidence and kind of mindset, because that's my jam. And like I wouldn't be here where I am if I wouldn't have taken that seriously. So that's the best social media handle. My clinic website is lifeinmotionphysicaltherapy.com. If you just want to take a look at how I set up my website based on PT website secrets, Christine Walker, right? Am I spacing her last name? Yeah. And like I have a video on there just kind of talking about how I talk to my patients and how I set it up in a way that's not intimidating. And as you'll be able to tell from the website is I literally don't think I use like any physical therapy terms as far as like what I do. I don't talk about full body assessment or evaluation or neuromuscular facilitation. Like patients don't care about that. Patients just want to know that you can help them. So that's just it's just a good model because I literally kind of did it modeled it off of her secrets in her website. Yeah, that's probably like that. Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me as far as questions about, anything that I'm doing or with, anybody else who's a new grad or about to graduate and just has questions about marketing and things like that.
Awesome. So awesome.
Yeah, I think that we've ended every call asking our fun guests any nuggets, anything else that you wanted to wrap up and share for either clients, like future clients being like, oh yeah, I think I might find the cash-based PT near me, or for clinicians, anything you can think of.
So I'll do both. So for clients, my biggest message is you deserve more control over your care.
Hell yes. I love that.
Love it.
So remember that when you make a decision about your provider and where you're going, like make sure that you are seeking out a provider that allows you to do that and allows you to have more control over your care. No, we're not going to let you make every decision because then you do it by yourself. But but remember that, like, you don't need to be told by an insurance company, by a provider, everything that you need to be doing and what is right for you, because you also know what's good for you too. So that's my nugget for clients. Always remember that you deserve more control. And then for future or interested cash PT leaders of our nation, I would say like, how do I want to put this? Be cautious or like have boundaries around what advice and voices you allow into your decision making. And by that, I mean, especially for new grads or especially for like, even seasoned PTs, I don't know. Like there's going to be a lot of PTs who have a lot of experience in the traditional model that are going to give their opinion on what you're doing and won't ever believe in it, won't ever think it's right, won't ever think that you can do it. And so just because of years of experience, that doesn't give them credibility all of the time to tell you what is right or wrong. So listen to the people who have done what you want to do. That's the advice that you should be taking and implementing, because there's just so many opinions and voices that are going to come at you with obviously everyone knows this in life, but like it's hard, it's difficult when you're taking those opinions from maybe someone that you looked up to, or, a PT that's been in it for 30 years and they're using their experience as a fear tactic to tell you, I know what I'm talking about. That's really hard to try and get over that and do it anyway. So just really be okay with your decisions and listen to other people who have done exactly what you want to do. If they're not in a spot where you want to be, then their opinion really doesn't matter on this matter.
Ooh, Dr. Logan dropping the truth bombs. I love it. That's so good. I love it.
There is no better way to end than that. Like, amazing. Logan, thank you. We will make sure to link all of your stuff below and share this on all the platforms. So thank you for spending time with us this last hour.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. This is so fun to be a part of.
All right. And make sure you go follow Logan. So,
yes.
Great.